Ever read the exact same page of a textbook 5 times in a row and realize you haven't absorbed a single word? You sit there, staring at the paper, feeling like your brain is actively fighting you. When we think of ancient humans, we usually picture a caveman. We imagine someone grunting, wearing pelts, and completely uneducated. But look closely at what that person was actually doing. From a few scratches in the dirt, an ancient tracker could read the exact weight of an animal, whether it was male or female, and how fast it was moving. They mastered a massive amount of complex biological and ecological data without a single day of formal schooling. Here is the reality. The neurological hardware inside the head of that master tracker is identical to the hardware inside your head right now. Your brain was fully modernized hundreds of thousands of years before the first classroom was ever built. So if learning feels impossibly hard, it isn't because you lack intelligence or focus. You are simply operating a highly optimized machine in an environment it was never designed to understand. Your memory is not a neutral hard drive that records whatever you point at it. It plays favorites. Over thousands of generations, human brains evolved to aggressively filter out background noise and permanently store information that keeps you alive. This chart shows the results of a famous psychological memory test. Researchers gave groups of people a list of ordinary words. Some groups used standard memorization tricks, rating how pleasant a word was, or picturing it vividly in their minds. Another group was simply asked to imagine they were stranded in a foreign grassland and to rate how useful each word would be for finding food and water. When everyone was given a surprise memory test later, the group that imagined a life-or-death survival scenario completely buried everyone else. This happens because of how our bodies process intensity. When something frightening or high stakes occurs, your system floods with stress chemicals like adrenaline. Those chemicals act like a volume dial for your memory, burning an event into your mind in a single pass. You remember a near-miss car crash from 5 years ago perfectly, but forget the textbook chapter you read yesterday. Your brain quietly recognizes that the textbook is not going to kill you, so it drops the information into the trash. Early humans didn't sit at desks. They were in near constant motion, walking between 6 and 9 miles every single day, reading the landscape. That motion is a biological requirement for cognition. When you move your body, it releases the exact neurochemistry your brain uses to grow new neural connections. Thinking and moving are tied together. And while they were moving, they were running complex calculations. Tracking an animal requires observing a mark in the dirt, forming a hypothesis about where it went, and walking forward to test it. It is the original scientific method, performed entirely on foot.
The feedback was absolute and immediate. If your guess was right, you ate. If it was wrong, you went home hungry. Reality graded your physical actions on the spot, locking the lesson in instantly. Contrast that with how we test knowledge today. You sit perfectly still in a room, fill out a piece of paper, and wait a week to get a number back. By forcing students into chairs and delaying the results of their efforts, the modern classroom cuts off both the physical fuel the brain needs to concentrate and the immediate logical validation it needs to learn. Take away books, and a logistical problem emerges. A 10-year-old forager could identify and use over 200 different plants and navigate massive territories. How do you hold all of that data without writing any of it down? They didn't memorize arbitrary lists. They hung their knowledge directly onto the physical environment. Information about which plants healed you and where the hidden water sources were was woven into songs, dances, and communal stories. A single song could hold a 100-mile route to water, with every landmark tied to a specific verse. If you knew the melody, you knew the map. There was no cramming for a final exam. The knowledge naturally repeated itself across different seasons, in different weather conditions, year after year. Life itself provided a natural system of spaced repetition. By linking data to physical spaces and narrative rhythms, early humans bypassed the strain of rote memorization entirely. They built permanent mental maps that were nearly impossible to forget. This highly evolved system worked perfectly until about 12,000 years ago. We invented farming. Villages grew into cities, and eventually society needed a way to pour large amounts of standardized information into large numbers of people as cheaply as possible. So we built the modern school. We removed the physical body by demanding stillness.
We swapped physical survival for letter grades. We replaced action with reading, and we stripped away the narrative, handing out bare facts instead. Here is the truth. Your memory is not broken. You can still mentally walk through your childhood home or recall the exact lyrics to a song you haven't heard in a decade. That information sticks because it arrives through feeling, place, and story, exactly how your brain expects to receive it. We take students who cannot sit still in a quiet room, hand them a label, and call it a disorder. But a child bursting with kinetic energy isn't defective. They are running the highly optimized movement-based settings of an ancient hunter, dropped into a box that punishes them for it. The reality is, you were never the slow one. To stop fighting your own biology, you have to bring the tracker's world back to your desk. When you reintroduce movement, anchor facts to physical spaces, and find the story, your learning finally matches the settings your brain has been running for thousands of years.